Welcome back, my name's Sam, and in this episode I'm going to be preparing the freshly primed hull of my Nicholson 32 stowaway for top coat. Surface a bit smoother. So I made a pretty massive boo-boo yesterday. Works on the hull are progressing. Again, sanding, not very interesting to be honest, with 320 grit this time, and just to get sort of like the kind of orange peel effect that you sort of typically get with rolling on. I probably didn't thin it down enough, but I didn't sand between coats, so I just put it all on, but also needed to sand off or try and sand smooth some of the waves in the hull, which I've done mostly, but there's still a few there. I don't think I'm going to get it absolutely perfect. I've been looking at a couple of the hulls in the yard that have obviously done their own paint job, and it's pretty clear that it's if you're doing this on your own, it's not going to be an easy task to try and get it absolutely smooth. Not helped by the fact at all that we had to really go heavy on getting the topside paint removed. So yeah, basically I think so far so good, but maybe just a little bit more work with just sanding some of the high areas. One benefit of using the grey primer is that it does highlight all the small undulations and pinholes in the hull. So yeah, I had to go around with quite a lot of filler and just get rid of these because the primer wasn't going to do it on its own. Just trying to get that kind of smooth edge alongside lots of hole filling. By the time I put this grey primer on, that was pretty evident how many holes there were on it. It's not easy to see when you've just got a white hull, and I've actually got a few more here, which is a bit annoying, but I just have to smooth that off a little bit more, and then once it's all done is put another coat of primer on the top, and then it's ready for a top coat. So I've just wetted down the area I've sanded, really just to get an idea of the finish, the surface finish and the condition of it. Give you an idea once that top coat is on and it's wet, just to kind of, you can just see how slippy it is. So getting rid of all the bubble isn't too big a deal. I've done that on the mid section, not so much the forward section, but the good thing with grey is you can see a bit easier when you get off when I get off this this platform. If I look down the side, you can just see any runs or undulations a little better than when it's dry. So that looks quite good actually, and I'm quite close to it. So, I mean, it's not perfect, but I'd be quite happy with this, to be honest. I've been looking around online for some of the sort of like longboards that they do, and they're all a bit small and a bit expensive. So I think I'm going to try and make my own. The main thing is that the board needs to be flexible and that there is sort of like a decent grip sort of handle at either end. And obviously sort of able to needs to have sort of like some means of attaching the sandpaper onto the surface, so that can sort of board along the hull while you're sanding. I've had this bit of offcut from some bathrooms that I've been sorting out, and I think it's just about the right size to make some of these longboards. Now the roll of sandpaper that is in the post and on the way is just under 100mm wide, and there's about 5 meters of it. So this is a little bit wide, but I'll just cut that down, I think. And I need a sort of 2 foot. I need two 2-foot lengths to to sort of like work the hull area. So I mean, there's plenty there, so I can just cut that down to size. So I thought the OSB or the chipboard was going to be a little bit non-flexible, so I decided to use
some 5mm plywood that I had spare from a previous project. There's a bit more flex in this to shape sort of the hull. That's what I thought anyway. What actually happened was there was too much flex, but that's covered later on in the video.
Bit more flex in them. So for the handles, we're just gonna use a bit of this. One at the front, one at the back, one at the back. Light is fading pretty quickly, but I've got my little mix of epoxy there with some thickener in it. I'm just going to bung these onto, fit these on there, I think, there and one there. Probably didn't need it, all this epoxy, but 20 grams or 25 grams is kind of like the minimum I usually use. And there we go. Very, very warm for this time of year. Can't believe I'm actually using this stuff. It's usually wood burner time. So there are the longboards. I'm just going to let that thickened epoxy set, and if you're wondering how the sandpaper is going to be fixed, I'm literally just going to use stapler and then just overlap on the front and staple them in like that there, and then obviously when you want to change them out, you just pull the staples out and off you go again. Hopefully though, with this part of the process, it's not going to be too much replacement, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay, so just had some 320 grit sandpaper turn up, and I've just fitted these to the longboards, and just stapled them into place on the back there. It might need a little bit more of something. We'll have to see how that actually works when we start sanding the hull. Kettle's on the boil, and it's a lovely morning out here, but wow, look at this. This is October. Got this thing coming on. My boat is on fire. Lots of dew from the night. Not the best weather forecast. Well, weather actual. The forecast was only meant to be a very small amount of rain this afternoon, but it's just gone absolutely mental. It's proper just poured it down. I sat at the back of the car for a bit waiting for it to finish, and then this just carried on, and I checked the weather radar on windy, and it was just, yeah, this big long streak of rain moving across. But hopefully it should finish soon, but it's already getting quite late, so I'm probably not going to be able to do any more sanding today. So while it's been a little bit wet outside, just put these little lights in, little LED lights in replacement for the really bright fluorescent white lights that we had. So they've actually, when you switch them on, they've actually got the red light comes on first, and you put it on again, and then they come up like that, which is really, really smart, I think. And it's just like like a warmer kind of light as opposed to a really bright one. So yeah, I've put a couple of them up, and also someone who follows the channel sent me some these really cool go around these little hooky things, and they just go like they've been cut out, but yeah, look at that. You can hang stuff on, like I don't know, I just use this as an example, and that's pretty cool. Yeah, there's a few different designs in here actually. There's one that's like kind of like monkey shaped. Yeah, pretty light as well, pretty tough. Hopefully that lasts a while. That's pretty neat. I'm gonna put some on that side, I think, just above my bunk. My alarm clock there. Let me just take that off and put that on there. That's pretty cool. Let's put that on there. I'll put that on there. I'll get it on there one day. Yeah. So these little things are the vents for the decks. Now that one I've just cleaned out, and it was absolutely filthy, just like, where is it? This one, which is the next one. That is no way near as bad as the first one. The first one was like completely blocked, and I've really had to flush out. It's really important that these are cleaned out because they sort of assist with the ventilation inside the cabin, stop the like build up of you know, crap and all the rest of it. So these are really easy to actually clean, but I've seen somewhere where the filters are like right kind of like halfway in between the deck and the and when they come out in the cabin, so they can be a bit of a pain. But these ones, I think there's only one in the fore cabin, so yeah, we'll get these two changed out and cleaned up. So that is pretty disgusting. Probably assists with the dodgy smell inside the cabin. No fault of my own. One thing I definitely have noticed, it's so easy to get into like the kind of mode of thinking like, let's just get on with it, you know, let's just get the top coat on. I want to see what the top coat's like. I'm starting to get a little bit pedantic as well. Like when I'm sanding over some areas, like I filled in some of the holes that sort of appeared while sort of like priming. It's a lot easier to see those holes from the grey primer. And then so I filled those in, and then when I went over it to smooth off the sort of the filler sort of in the areas, it's like more little holes turned up, and I was like, oh no, not again. So I'm going around with the filler again and filling that in. So it's just started to make my head spin, kind of like just going around the boat like loads of times looking for holes in the hull, but like you're talking about like really small, like needle size holes, and this is like the only time I'm going to have a chance to actually go around and sort all that out. So yeah, as much as possible I'm trying to fill it. So yeah. So back in the garage and a few little evening jobs during the week. So here is the rudder for my new wind vane self-steering system. This is a rudder off the Pacific Wind Pilot by Wind Pilot. Peter Forthman is a designer. Now I purchased this second-hand on eBay for nearly a third of the price of a new unit. Quite a number of YouTube channels which I've seen using this wind vane system on the back of their boat. I think is it Roger Taylor? I think from Ming Ming. His videos have got well, his voyages have done loads of miles with the wind vane Pacific Light. I think I'm not sure if that's the full Pacific. And then I think Sam Home Sailing has also got the Pacific. Okay, so you're getting really close now. Just put another coat of primer on the hull, and just going to mix up some low temperature additive into the hardtop AX, which is the top coat to be put on. And that is the colour. So I made a pretty massive boo-boo yesterday.
Well, it could have been worse, to be honest, but yeah, you would have seen me putting in the low temperature additive into the top coat. It sort of dawned on me just literally probably about half an hour after I did it, and thankfully I wasn't in the mode of actually looking to put this stuff on. It was just adding it to the mix to sort of like get in preparation for, but I didn't need to do it. And in addition, the low temperature additive is actually only for the Penguard epoxy paints. The top coat I have is not an epoxy paint. It's a polyurethane paint. So after consulting Jotun, they came back to me and said, basically, you can't use that paint anymore. It's buggered. So I've literally wasted 5 litres of top coat, which I am gutted about. But I could have ended up applying it, and that would have been an even bigger disaster because I would have had to removed it and start all over again. So just a word on that. Low temperature additive is only for the Penguard series of paints, the primer, the HB primer, and I think there is one epoxy top coat where you can apply it, and essentially all that does is reduce the curing temperature for application right down to something like 2 degrees. Yeah, a little bit of a shame, but I said at the beginning that I was going to make mistakes, and that is definitely one of them. So yeah, a little bit of a pain.
And we've got a bucket of water taking the surface wet and 340 grit sandpaper, just trying to get the surface a bit smoother. We've had a number of high spots, low spots, which are just sanding out. I started using this longboard, but the problem with that is that you put pressure on either end and not in the middle, so we've ended up using slightly thicker sections of wood, and I've just stapled the sandpaper on the side just to keep it on, and it's actually okay. If you're using a small section, if you're doing a longboard section, like a sort of 4-foot section, you probably don't want anything too stiff, like it doesn't flex too much, but okay for what we're doing.
So it's myself and George tackling this hull with these little longboards, and the results are really, really good, to be honest. You have to sort of clean off the area after you've done it, and sort of marking the low spots out with a bit of pencil, and then using the board to smooth off, and it was, as I said, worked really well. It is surprising how much primer actually comes off, but working wet with this stuff, it's a lot cleaner than dry, and you are able to gauge the surface, how much more needs to come off in whichever areas. You can see there the gel coat underneath and the high spots.
That's it. She is all ready for top coat. I've just washed everything down again, and hopefully tomorrow is the day for top coat.